Welcome to the big show. It is Paul Zeise. Of course, we are here at the U.S. Open again. We are here at Oakmont Country Club, back in the back of a radio booth. Not that that actually matters, but just in case you're wondering why the background is a little different than it was yesterday. Well, yesterday we had to do an audible, but we always like to bring it to you every single day. And of course, today we're going to talk a little bit about the U.S. Open to start. It was kind of an interesting day from the standpoint of this. Two things that stood out to me about today. Number one, these guys spent the entire week, complaining about how tough this course is, how difficult it's going to be to score, how bad some of the places are to try and get out of the rough, all that stuff. Remember all that? Yeah. And then this morning, basically, some guy named J.J. Spaun comes out and shoots 4 under. Now, J.J. Spaun, to me, is a guy who probably there's a lot of people out there who think, oh, well, he must be some young new guy. Actually, he's been on the scene for a while. He's been sort of in and out of, the PGA Tour. I think he's bounced between the Corn Ferry Tour and whatever. But the reality is, he's 34, going to be 35 years old, and he has one PGA Tour win. So, he's probably closer to like a journeyman type guy than he is a young, up and comer guy that just comes out of nowhere, if that makes sense. And so I think it's kind of interesting and ironic. We talked all week about how difficult the course is going to be and everything else. But I think one of the biggest thing is it's just goes to show that regardless of what the lead up is and all that other stuff, the reality is, guys are going to go out here, and when you have, I don't know, what is it, 120, 130, however many guys you have in the field, you're going to have 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that actually really figure it out. I mean, these are the best players in the world. These are the best players in the world. So even though the course is really difficult, still playing pretty difficult and all the other good stuff, and you see guys like Scheffler sort of slaughter, right now he's just sort of, slopping around a little bit. Rory had a tough day today. I mean, Shane Lowry, I think, is a guy that's won a major before, and I think he was plus 9 or 10 last time I looked at it. I mean, yeah, the course is going to win more than it's going to lose. But the bottom line is when you have this many guys who are out there, when you have this many guys that are out there that are the best in the world, what you're going to have happen is some 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are going to shoot really low. Now, do I think J.J. Spaun is going to be in the discussion on Sunday? Probably not. Probably not. He played really well today, kept himself out of trouble, had some really nice par save putts. But the reality is, it's like one of those things where, it feels like sometimes you really, really, really have to just sort of get through the first day and figure out where you're at. As we speak, it looks like Sun Jae-in is actually in the lead, but I just looked up at the monitor. There's a monitor right above my head. It looks like he's in a lot of trouble on, I guess it's hole 3. Looks like he just went from basically one sand trap to the rough. So that could be changing at any point here. That could be changing where he comes back down to the lead. And if I'm not mistaken, this is him right here, getting ready to hit. And so, he's got a lot of work to do just to try and get a par. And that's the nature of this course right now. It's the nature of it is you've got to survive your bad shots. You've got to survive your bad shots. You've got to find a way to minimize your bad shots. Minimize, the shots that put you in like the rough or put you in like the sand traps, whatever. You've got to find a way to get the ball close to the hole from really, really tough spots. And if you can do that, you give yourself a chance to make pars. You give yourself a chance to make some, maybe some birdies, but more importantly, pars. I mean, I think, honestly, if you asked every one of these golfers today what they want and what they're looking for, every single one of them would say, you know what, if I get par, I'll be happy. Day one, if you're, even par, guess what? Day one, you're probably going to be in pretty good shape. So I think that's going to be, the key here when we look at this as you go forward. The key is going to be making sure that your bad holes don't turn into awful holes. Rory McIlroy had a really weird day, to be honest. He started the day -2 in the first 9 holes. In fact, I think he was -2 in like the first 3 holes. And then something weird happened. He started making pars, and you thought, okay, that's what you do in this. You try and grab a couple of early birdies, and then you hope that you can par and get yourself in a situation where you're under par at the end of the round. But what happened is he just sort of fell apart on the back 9. He came out. He started on the back 9. Hole 11 and 12, he went birdie. So he was 2 under through 3. And you know what? The next, 2, 4, 6 holes, 7 holes, he was even par. So, he made the turn at -2, and you're thinking, boy, if he can just keep making pars, -2 is going to be a spot, he's going to be in the top 5 or 6 by the time the end of the day is. Well, then hole 1 came. He got in a little bit of trouble. He made a bogey. Then he made a bogey on number 4. He got caught in the rough and, sort of missed the shot. Hole 6, he actually made a miracle putt to save a bogey. I mean, it probably should have been a double bogey. And at that point, he's over par. Hole 7, another bogey, and then came a disaster on hole 8, where, the long par 3, where he, got into the sand, and then he tried to get out of the sand, and it took him 2 swings. So, I mean, I think at the end of the day, he looked at it, he's +4. I'm looking actually right here at the monitor. Scottie Scheffler is struggling on whatever hole he's at. He's struggling. He's all over the place. So it looks like he's going to go further in the hole. He's +1. He's going to be at least +2 at the end of this hole. So that's really, what happened here today. Sungjae Im, let's see. I think they're looking for right now to see if he can somehow salvage a par here. And if he can salvage a par, then of course he'll maintain the lead. If not, he'll fall back into a tie with respect to JJ Spaun. So we'll see. Here comes a nice shot from Scheffler. Didn't get it quite to the hole, so it looks like he's going to take a bogey on this hole, and that'll put him at +2. It's interesting. DeChambeau +3, Rory +4, Scottie Scheffler +3. Now comes Sungjae Im, who's got a really difficult putt, and it looks like he's going to take a bogey on this hole, so he'll be back to -4. So that's that. Anyway, it's interesting. What has happened here today is we were told all week that it's going to be really difficult for anybody to be under par. And quite frankly, I mean, we've got a long way to go. And if it stays dry the next 3 days, yeah, it probably is going to be very difficult for guys to be under par. Because the reality is, it's going to get firmer. It's going to get faster. It's going to be harder to control the ball. I was on one hole. I'm trying to think of what hole it was, watching a guy. So it would have been, let's see, 12 guys approach shot on 12. That he hit a really, really good approach shot, and it must have rolled 12, 13 feet past the hole. That's only going to get worse as the week goes on. So I think sometimes we look at the first day of the tournament, and there's some people that think, well, you know what? You have a chance to win it on the first day. You don't. You have a chance to lose it on the first day, though. Shane Lowry has lost it. I mean, he's going to have to scramble to make the cut now, if you think about it. I mean, he's at +9. The good news for him is there's a whole lot of guys that are behind him, that shot even worse than that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, let's see, the kid from Pittsburgh, I think he's +10, if I'm not mistaken. Here, let me look at this. Either way, I mean, if you're that far down after day one, you've got a big hole to get out of. I mean, right now the cut probably would be somewhere around 4. So you've got to play 5 under just to have a chance to get a cut. And that's assuming that there's nobody else that goes lower that pushes the cut line even a little bit lower. So I think, to me, when I look at today, what happened out here at Oakmont, it's amazing how difficult the course really is. And I think really what I saw today is that it probably is as difficult as you think it is, even though a couple of guys went low. And that's great, but I think the longer it goes, the more difficult it is, the tougher it's going to be for guys to go low. I almost don't even think that it's reality in some ways to believe that we're going to have 5, 6, 7 guys under par at the end of the week. I mean, right now there's a bunch of guys, but I think tomorrow you'll probably see some guys come back to earth. I think J.J. Spaun is an interesting story. I know, our Jason Mackey wrote about him. He seems to be a guy that I would classify almost as a nobody from nowhere. J.J. Spaun, one of the most interesting things that he said to me was, or he didn't say to me, but he said to the media was, you know what? I never played here before. And he said, that probably freed me up. I just took what the course gave me. In other words, he hadn't really played here before, so he wasn't like some of these other guys who seem to be psyching themselves out. That's the good news for him. And it just basically says, hey, he said it's hard not to hear the noise. It's hard not to hear everybody talking about how difficult this is. It's hard not to see that or hear that. But the reality is, at the end of the day, you know what? I didn't think about it. I wasn't afraid of it. I wasn't afraid of any of this stuff because I had never played here. I have no reference point. So I was kind of free to just do what I do. And I think that's, really, to me, what was the most, telling thing about what he said was that the best thing he could do was just say, hey, I don't even know what I'm doing, so I'm okay. And I think that's where he's at right now, at least, when it comes to. But now tomorrow, again, and I don't think people fully understand this, but tomorrow it changes. Because tomorrow he's going to take the course as one of the leaders. And now there's a little pressure on him. Now there's a little bit of pressure on him. So, this is really kind of a neat experience. Very expensive, really is. So, but my point is it's pretty expensive. And if you, come out here, it's pretty neat, though. Tickets obviously cost a lot of money. I'm fortunate to have a press pass, but regardless, to me, I look at it like this is one of those neat experiences. If you're, a golfer, for instance, if you're into golf, if you love watching golf, if you are somebody who enjoys the aspects of golf, like um, the psychological warfare, if you like watching the best of the best play, yeah, this is a really neat experience. But if you don't, you wouldn't come here. And obviously that's one of those things where I'm just telling you, if you have an opportunity to come out here, you can see some of the best. And Brooks Koepka just blew a putt, so he's back to even. That's not good. But again, it's obviously very difficult course for these guys, even though some of them are going low. Even though some of them are going low. And so, if you think about it, it's one of those things where they want the course to be difficult. They want it to be a difficult test for everybody. They want it to be one of these things where everybody feels the heat when they're playing. And that's what they're going to do. So to me, it's pretty cool to watch some of the best players in the world, like Scottie Scheffler, who was just all over the last hole, watching these guys really struggle around a little bit. Because it reminds you how hard the game is. When you play the game, you sometimes I think, you don't fully appreciate just how tough golf is. You can't fully appreciate it if you don't play it. But even if you play it sometimes, if it's almost like too easy. And you're just kind of in a place where you say to yourself, well, you know what? Just go out here and hit the ball. Well, these guys are out here. They're the best in the world. They're trying to hit the ball around. And honestly, you see that the course in many ways is winning this weekend, even though a few of these guys really did a good job of sort of taming the course in some ways. You know what? It's not as easy as you think it is. And so I think that we get to a point where we get to Sunday and all of a sudden there is, a little bit more pressure on it. And you get to see really which guys crack and which guys don't. So at the end of the day, that's honestly where I'm at with this. Switching gears, interestingly enough, by the way, the game's always on at Archie's. Get down to Archie's. Archie's, home of 87 Wings, Monday through Thursday, home of the Paul Zeise grilled cheese sandwich. So get down to Archie's and say hello when you're there. Switching gears, let's go to the Steelers. Mike Tomlin let the cat out of the bag. And that cat is basically, well, guess what? We might not have TJ Watt in training camp. We might not do that. He might not be here. He might be still holding out. And I know that there's a lot of people who would say, well, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. But I do find it easy and I do find it very, very fascinating that it's one of those things where I think that last year that wasn't the case. And it was a hold in, not a hold out. It was a hold in. He was showing up. Right now, he's not showing up. And I think that's the key. Like, if he's not showing up, it tells me the Steelers are probably not close to what he's thinking about in terms of his contract. That's what it tells me. And it's one of those things where I don't know that it's necessarily going to be resolved as easy as some people think, unless we get to a point where, it's one of those things where we get to a point where he might have to give in a little bit. And I think that's the key. If he really wants to be a Steeler, if he really wants to be here, if he really wants to win here, if he really wants to be that, one helmet guy and all that other crap we hear about, you know what? TJ Watt might have to take a little less money. And the reality is, again, going back to that line about Ralph Kiner, we can finish last with you. We can finish last without you. We can win. We can lose playoff games with you. We can lose them without you. And I think one of the things that Steeler fans need to come to grips with when it comes to this group of Steelers, and I mean this in all sincerity, and I don't mean it in a mean way, I just think that you don't realize this isn't the big bad Steelers anymore. This isn't the team that's got the pedigree that everybody's afraid of anymore. This isn't the team that people are saying, oh, well, boy, we got to play the big bad Steelers. No. They haven't won a playoff game in 8 seasons. There are 2 guys, Cam Hayward and Chris Boswell, the kicker. The only 2 guys on the whole entire roster that have ever experienced a winning playoff game in a Steelers uniform. 2 guys, and one of them is a kicker. And TJ Watt ain't one of them. And quite frankly, it's not TJ Watt's fault completely that the Steelers have lost in these playoff games, but he could show up. He could do more than a flat line 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 all the way across the stat sheet against the Bills last year. I mean, quite frankly, I think he's played in 5 playoff games. If you take away a strip sack at the start of the Kansas City game, which they ended up losing by 100 points anyway, but he had a strip sack score in that game. Guess what? You take that away, that's basically his entire resume for the playoffs is 1 play. So to me, I get it. One helmet guy. We want him to be a Steeler for life. I want to be a Steeler for life. I want to be here, yada, yada. Okay, show us. Show us. That's just the bottom line. It's one of those things where I really believe that TJ Watt might have to take a little bit less money. And I don't know that he wants to. I think he looks at Myles Garrett's contract. And listen, here's the other thing that's funny. Micah Parsons, I think one of the Bosa guys. There's like the kid from the Bengals, what's his name, Trey Hendrickson or whatever his name is. There's a bunch of these rush ends that are all angling for a deal right now, and I think they're all waiting for one of the other guys to go get a deal so they can say, this is what I want. This is what Myles Garrett got. This is what this guy got. This is not what I want. So who's going to get the deal first? It's interesting to see, but all I'm telling you is I think that TJ Watt can show us a whole lot about how much he wants to be a Steeler, right? How much he wants to be a Steeler by going out and signing a deal for a reasonable number. That's just, that's how you show me that you want to be a Steeler. And I'm not saying that, don't get listen, I'm not one of these guys that think that athletes shouldn't take every dime they can get. They shouldn't make every dime. I get it. But on some levels, if you're telling me that winning matters and that winning is the only thing that matters to you and that all you care about is winning in a Steelers uniform and you want to be a one helmet guy, okay, well, show us. You don't need to get $130 million or what did Myles Garrett get? $124 million guaranteed. So TJ Watt's got to get $125, right? Well, you don't need to. Show us. Take 110. You can still take the full price of the contract, but the guaranteed money, make it 110. Show us that you really wanted to be a Steeler. because you settled for $110 million. You say, well, Paul, would you? Well, here's the thing. I wouldn't be out there telling everybody I want to be a Steeler. I want to be a Steeler for life. I wouldn't be telling people that. I would be saying I want to get paid in full. And if you have the leverage to get paid in full, well, then you can go do that. But to me, the reality is, and everything, when we look at all this stuff, the reality is TJ Watt has a lot to prove. I laughed at the Browns when they gave Myles Garrett all that money because I think it's a joke. I was one of the few people in town who was on the air saying basically, the Steelers should not give Watt the extension they gave him that, has him here, right? I mean, honestly, that's where I'm at. And now I'm here saying that the Steelers should basically not cave and see if they can get, some sort of concession or whatever from TJ Watt. You want to be a Steeler? Scottie Scheffler just airmailed another putt right past the hole. So it looks like he's going to lose another strike. I'm just telling you, it looks to me like we are sitting here, and it's just one of those things where I just feel like the Steelers, if you're somebody that's telling me, and I'm the Steelers, you're telling me you want to be a Steeler for life, then guess what? If you want to be a Steeler for life, here's what we're going to offer you. Here's what we're going to offer you. And we'll go from there. And you can take that and sort of take it to the bank if you want to say it that way. Anyway, switching gears, the Pirates have put themselves back into at least a little bit of a good groove and rhythm. If I'm not mistaken, if my math is correct, Donnie Kelly is one game over 500. And he is, Sungjae Im took the lead, and now he's just blowing it. He's all over the place right now. But anyway, the Pirates, the biggest thing with them is they're pitching really well recently. They're pitching really well. And that, to me, is, going to be sustainable for them. Continue to pitch well. Continue to play well. Continue to, get timely hits when you need them. But their pitching has been really, really good. And quite frankly, you look at a guy like Andrew Heaney, he's been so much better than anybody could think that he was going to be. But he's the guy you got to trade. Mitch Keller, guy you got to trade. This season is lost. I mean, they have to play like 6 or 7 or 8 games over 500 the rest of the way just to get to 500. They're not doing that. So trade Keller, trade Heaney. As good as he's been, right? I would try to trade Dennis Santana, maybe, David Bednar. There's a lot of guys that I would trade and just kind of basically really rebuild. Period. I know people don't want to hear that, but to me, the first thing you got to do is fire your general manager and do a rebuild. That really is, to me, what needs to happen. Anyway, I will be back here tomorrow at Oakmont Country Club. We will talk more Steelers. We'll get you ready for the weekend. We'll look at what's going on in the golf. Pirates are playing a big series in Chicago. And the other thing we have going for us is some Penguins talk, which I'm going to try and hook up tomorrow. We'll do that. Till then, enjoy your day. Let's try this again. Until then, enjoy your day.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.